And just touching back on our sponsor, Sun International, they just really have incredible venues. This one that we're at right now is brand new. It's been here for about a year and a little bit.
Big blind, please.
Your thoughts on this being an urban casino? In fact, one of the only real urban casinos if you take Port Elizabeth out of the equation, because Port Elizabeth's not a major big hub.
There are a few cities which should always have casinos, and the 5 biggest cities that I can sort of think of would be Durban, Cape Town, Johannesburg, and then Pretoria, which is the capital, should essentially have its own casino. Everyone from Pretoria has been going through to the other establishments in Johannesburg, and I think this was a great idea by Sun International to bring gambling entertainment to the capital city of South Africa.
Right, Eugene, it seems like the viewers on Facebook would like to ask us a few questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Facebook stream up here for us, and we certainly can entertain some of those questions. That'll be wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get it up here for us somewhere. I think I'm going to need a charger from somebody. So we will notify the dealers, or the players, the spectators now, the viewers, that we are available for comment. So you can fire ahead right away, and if we pick up your questions, we certainly will answer them.
Fold.
Right, so
Gio gets a walk there with Jack 7. The blind's now 80 and 40 with a 80 ante. It's 200,000 every time someone gets a walk. So it's quite significant to pick up 3 pots.
Easy to call.
right, so Cam Knight has picked up 6s, and I'm not sure his position. I was just offline for a second there. I was busy trying to see what our
I think he's on the button.
yeah. I've just turned onto Facebook, and it's just notified me that Stan Toppel is watching. So big shout out to Stan Toppel. I mean, Stan, I know you absolutely love poker and miss all these tournaments with us, and by the time this gets you, which will be half an hour later, you know, we miss you a lot, and we know that you have a massive interest in South Africa, and I can certainly tell you Eugene's quite happy that you're not at the tables anymore, because, I mean, he's stern opposition.
Yeah, I don't miss Stan too much myself. I'm sure the next time I see him, he'll have a few things to say to me. I'm not sure all of them will be complimentary.
Stan's a fantastic guy, and Stan, I really have opened up an invitation to you many times to come back down to South Africa for a tour. I know you caught up, you've just had a baby, and your dad's drilling you every single day at the office there, and you and I do talk a lot, but anytime you want to come back down, the invitation is wide open for you, Stan. We'd really love to have you come and enjoy a Monsterjam Poker Tour event. You did actually play at Sun City when we were doing our pilot project, and I remember you going quite deep.
So Gio opens here on the button with ace-9 off, very strong hand.
Well,
and everyone folds.
Everybody folds. So right now the chip's just shifting her a little bit round in circles. Cam managed to pick up a pot to get himself back in the mix a little bit. Gio at 3.6. Actually, Kevin's taken the lead at 3.6. Gio at 3.5, and Cam would have the balance of 2.1. 2.1. Look, there's about 9.2 in play. So this is very evenly stacked. Like you said, they all got 30 bigs.
Yeah, there's definitely still a lot of play. I actually would have thought that Gio would have put his foot down on the accelerator a little more than he has. Maybe he's been caught bluffing a few times, and
I
that's
think
kept him
that's
in
what's
check.
happened. I think that's what happened. Jazz tried to put it down a little bit, and you know, the star player right now, and I keep on saying it, is Kevin.
Yeah, I think he's been the surprise package here.
There you go.
But given his experience, I would have always expected him to put up a really good fight.
So Cam's picked up Jack of clubs, Queen of diamonds.
To 20.
Alright, so we have two very legitimate hands here in the small and big blind. This is the problem that Cam's always going to have throughout this event, is that Gio's always going to have position on him. And as strong a hand as Queen Jack off is, King 10 in position plays a lot better.
Oh wow, so Gio's moved all in.
So this is the aggressive factor
of
Gio.
Fold.
Cam can never
Cam's
call
just
this.
gonna fold that, right?
He's just going to fold.
That's just going to fold that, right? I suspect if Cam had an ace with any of those two cards, it was instant. In fact, still very difficult just to call with ace jack or ace queen, right?
It's very difficult because in this three-handed dynamic, there's still big play jumps, and nobody wants to make that fatal error of being busted out in third place.
So Eugene, well, they're shuffling up the cards here. Just did want to ask you to tell us about your year at MJPT. Just for the viewers so that they know, we've had a leaderboard running. Monsterjam has pumped 500,000 Rand back into the poker community this year. We ran a leaderboard with the GPI and the Hender Mob, and we've taken 500,000 Rand out of our coffers and stuck it back into poker, and the results will be published, but it's pretty clear that you've ended up second, and your package, as far as I remember, will be a high roller and 2 main events for your use, and complete accommodation at the next 2 series. So when you arrive at when you book to come to Carnival City, your accommodation is taken care of, and of course when you come to Sun City, which is probably South Africa's premium Sun International Resort in terms of resorts, you'll have a full 10-day package available there. So all of this adds up to around about 100k.
Well,
yeah, well, I'm very excited about that. At the beginning of the series, I still had a bit of a sniff to get the first prize package, but after David got to an absolute flyer, he pretty much snuffed out that dream. But I think it's a great thing to have a leaderboard like this. It gives players something to sort of strive for. I think one of the bigger problems with poker has always been, how do you rank people? How do you assess whether you're doing well or not? And it's always been a personal scoreboard, and now with having sort of an official ranking and scoreboard, it's almost like golf or tennis, where players, fans alike can follow what's going on and sort of have something to shout for.
Yeah, so it's an official scoreboard within the realms of the Monsterjam Poker Tour, right? At the moment, it doesn't include any other events going on in South Africa, so it's a Monsterjam leaderboard. You know, going forward, we've spoken to Roland from the Hender Mob, and we're going to try and get all South African results to be entered into a separate machine, if you want to call it that, and try and keep like an absolute player ranking for South Africa. That player ranking, obviously, Monsterjam will not sponsor any prizes to that. We'll sponsor prizes to people playing on our tour. That obviously you'll be rewarded. The more you play, the more you'll be rewarded. That's the purpose of this leaderboard. And I don't want to take anything away from Bozo, because David has just had a sensational year after a long break from poker, and he absolutely deserves the prize that he's won. And for the viewers that don't know what he's won himself a 200,000 Rand poker trip internationally. It's going to be to the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas. So it's basically, he can choose how he spends it, but we're hoping that it'll be a main event, flights and accommodation package, because that's obviously the dream for people that don't live in America or big clip poker. And it's not so accessible to people. It's a lot of money to get over there and to go and play that. And not only that, you got to stay, you know, you got to live there at the exchange rate, and you want to play other poker events, and converting the rands into dollars are pretty expensive. So we're giving South African players a great opportunity to go and venture into these areas.
80 to call?
Yeah, I think it's great for poker. I think most poker players, when they start playing, one of the first things they see is the WSOP, and the main event is sort of the
Benchmark.
the benchmark and the pinnacle of poker. So
Isn't it spectacular, hey? Just so special, right?
it's
The World
something
Series of
that
Poker.
never ceases to blow my mind.
And they are certainly
up
the
to
industry
170.
leaders. They have taken poker to the level that it is globally at the moment. And from our side, we certainly respect that. And we try to take their lead. They know what they're doing. We're not, if they do something
Flop.
good, we're happy to copy them and move in line with them. There's no need in trying to reinvent this wheel. It's great. But getting back to talking about that leaderboard, like I said, I don't want to take away anything from David, but if you had played those two events that you missed, you could have comfortably given him even a closer run for his money and taken it. That's obviously due to circumstances. You weren't around. I think you were in Vegas actually for the Port Elizabeth
Yes, that's correct.
leg, and the Wild Coast leg you weren't available. You had some business commitments. But you back here in Pretoria and you gave him a shot. But anyway, there's nothing 100k going your way. There's nothing wrong with that. You free rolling the first two events next year. So
No, I'm ecstatic about that. I was happy with any sort of prize that I got, because poker tournaments is a very volatile game to play, and it's very hard to cash. So when things go your way, you really have to make it count. I really appreciate what Monsterjam Poker has given back to the community with these sort of play rewards and leaderboards. I think it's a great idea. I think it's really going to incentivize many players to play an extra event that they might not have played before.
Still the same.
Now, you had a small discussion about this offline, and I know you had your reservations about certain things, but we've taken some initiative this year or into 2019, and we've decided we're going to do a million maker, an accumulator. We're going to give players an opportunity for 5,650 rand to win a first prize of R1 million. And how that's going to work is that we'll at each stop that we make, we'll have a day one. Players will get 25,000 chips. There'll be 10 levels of re-entry, and we'll play 16 levels for the day. And basically what will happen is we'll play down to 10 players or 16 levels, whichever comes first, and those players' chips will be bagged and they'll be recorded, and they'll be going to day two. And day two will be the final event of MJPT Season 2, which more than likely will be back here in Pretoria early November 2019. So players would get an opportunity at each stop to get stuck in and get involved and bag their chips, and by the time we get back to Pretoria, we'll have a day one, year two.
Thank you.
And we'll set aside a day for some time, or a day for day two and day three. And for 5,650, a player could become an instant millionaire. All they have to do is play good poker.
Check.
Yeah, so we have a pretty big hand here. I think it's all in.
Oh, wow.
And that's just locked it up there on the turn.
That's just locked up. Kevin has a set of sixes. He has a full house. Oh, wow. Gia's going to be in a lot of trouble
here. The
here.
flop actually went check, check. So it was a raise pre-flop, check, check on the flop. And he's now made a
So
full
Gia
house.
raised it to 160. Kevin just
160.
called the 80. Gio checked the flop.
Sorry.
Kevin checked it. Gio's bet 160 on the turn.
Raise. 360 in total.
Looks almost like Kevin's put out a raise there. I
He
would
has
expect
put out
him
a
to
raise
actually
there.
Call there.
Well, there's a lot of scare cards for Kevin, right? If Gio is a jack and anything big, he could be in a bit of trouble. So I think he's.
Gio does make the call with
Gio's
the
in a
gut
lot of
shot and
trouble.
2
Yeah.
overs.
River.
Gio's in a lot of trouble. If he hits his gut shot here, he'll be in a real mess. But
Check.
he's going to check, and Kevin's certainly going to come out firing here.
I honestly
And
don't think Kevin is messing around here too often. I think
No.
Gio should really find a fold here.
Gio, I think Gio will find a fold, yeah. But he's got that look about him right now. I can't tell you Kevin won't lay this down. He's
Given the look Gio's got, I don't think his intentions or thoughts here is to check call. I think if anything is to check
Bet.
raise, but it looks like Kevin's put out a very big bet
no,
here.
he certainly won't check call.
700,000.
There won't be a check call. Gio's moving in or folding. I
Under
played
the
with
bet.
Gio. Played with Gio too long. Gio's busy starting to think about. Gio's in a world of trouble, yeah. I really don't think he can get. I really don't think he can get Kev to fold his hand.
I think he will find a fold here. He just doesn't have that raising look on his face.
Gio keeps on touching his chips here, giving them the shuffle there, and now, Gio's moved to his chips. Gio's pulled out the big guns in the front, the 100k chips. I mean, he just certainly can't call this bet. So, he certainly can't call this bet.
So I haven't followed too much of the hand, but it looks like the only aggression was shown on the turn by Kevin, and I just don't see him doing this too often as a bluff. So I would normally think that if anything, Gio
I just heard that Gio asked him if he has King 10. Just heard him. Gio asking if he had King 10, so
he thinks he raised the draw on the turn
and missed it.
That ace high is now maybe good.
Yeah. So anyway, Gio's got ace king. Yeah, if Gio moves in, yeah, he's going to find himself in a world of trouble. Kevin's bet out 700,000 from. He started, I think, this hand with about 2.4. No, he started the hand with 3.6. So
I can guarantee you that Gio's not moving in. When he asks Kevin that he's got King 10,
yeah,
that's already he's basically
weakness.
quarter fold.
Yeah,
he's saying quarter fold.
So there's 2
he's
million
even got
in
a
the
look
pot
on his face of sort of
2 million in the spot.
He's got
right?
that quarter fold face.
So Kevin will get to 4.4 million if Gio folds here. Oh wow, just called. Kevin shows his set.
Gio's very disappointed.
Gio's very disappointed. I don't know what he's too disappointed about though. I mean, he didn't really. He had nothing. He had absolutely nothing. He was in a draw. He thought. I mean, he really thought he was winning ace high. I'm not entirely
The only
sure.
thing I think he can maybe be thinking is Kevin generally plays his hands quite straightforward. So if Kevin hit a jack or a queen on the flop, he would have bet it. So it seemed very strange for him, unless he had a exact hand like queen jack, to have checked and slow played the flop.
I think Gio's just getting a bit frustrated with Kevin, to be honest with you, because Gio's honestly just been under the whip. Kevin's just had control of him, and Gio's not used to people just playing back at him and pushing him around, and I think he's just getting a little bit frustrated, and that's probably good for Cam.
Yes, it's always a situation where you're the third player who's not in the hand. You just want absolute carnage and for someone to bust out.
And I think Gio's getting a little bit agitated, and he shouldn't, because he's really Gio's a great player. He's a wonderful, wonderful poker player, and I hope he doesn't get himself too agitated. Yeah, just settles down a little bit and gets himself back into this, the zone.
So Cam's playing this hand.
Kevin getting a little frisky with 7-4 clubs. Great hand, and Cam's picked up pocket fours. What an interesting hand this will turn out to be.
120.
I
What
think
an
Cam's going to come in for a raise here. Pocket fours, three-handed is a pretty strong hand. Kevin hasn't shown any strength by limping in small blind.
It's 8.
Kevin got his stack up to 5 million, so he has a real commanding lead.
Yeah. This is
Kevin.
160, this is 120, which is a raise. It's more than 20. Another
Oh, he
20.
didn't limp in. So Kevin actually came in for a raise here, it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure what Cam's doing. Kevin was just busy finding out about what he's got.
All in.
Right, so that'll be the end of that. Cam's moved all in. Cam's moved all in, and Kevin will be folding it. Instant fold. I don't even know why he's making a noise about it. Fold the hand, Kev.
Seems like some
I think
confusion.
Kev's just a bit agitated. I think he meant to call, and it was a raise story, and I think there might have just been a bit of confusion. He kept on asking how much did I put in and what was going on there. Can I see him quickly? Right, so Kev's on the button.
Small blind. Action. Raise up to 160 to top. Fold. Flop. King 6 and 9. Check. Check. 10. Jeez. Check. River.
Right, so we had a slight delay there from our side. So we join back into action here where it looks like so Kevin raised to 160 pre-flop. Gio
160?
called the 80 from the big blind. The flop came King 6-9. Gio checked.
Fold.
Gio seems to win this hand with the pair of twos.
Yeah, with the pair of twos. So now Gio defending with 10-2. What do you think of that?
Well, he had a suited hand, and once again, suited hands go up in value three-handed. And Gio is someone who's not going to give up his big blind too easily.
Too easy, especially with Kev going the min race, right?
Yes, and I think he's also picking up that Kev is getting a little frisky now, playing a lot more hands. And that in itself is also the right thing to do. Once you have the chip lead, you have to apply as much pressure onto your
100%.
opponents.
And Gio's slightly agitated with Kevin. We worked that out, right? He's just like, I mean,
80,000.
so far Kevin's won this fight.
Fold.
So Kev shows us 4-5 in the big blind. Gio folds. We can see his cards.
And an easy 200,000 for Kevin.
Easy. Kevin had an 8 there, so it must have been Gio had 4-5 that folded. Right, so Gio on the button, yeah.
Blind please. Thank you. I think you take it back now.
And we don't get to see what Gio
But he said it
folds
must be
there
more
on
about the pen.
button.
Okay.
And Kevin has
240 in total, raise up to 240 in total.
Kevin's opened up for 240. Unfortunately, we never got a look at his cards. Cam's opened up 7-8 of clubs.
This is a hand
On the
Cam
big
will be
blind.
playing.
Absolutely, Cam will be playing his hands. Maybe the dealer can ask Kevin to show his cards again.
Sorry? Sir? They want to see your card.
Kevin gets the bad news, and he will oblige.
Right, Kev has Queen 2.
No, probably they didn't see it.
So this is a good example of
240 in
Kevin
total.
sort of upping the aggression. Queen 2 is a hand he was definitely folding earlier in small blind, and he's now coming for a raise.
And Cam has called the 160. Cam's
Flop.
got a very nice hand here. And Kev takes the lead, and
Check.
he certainly will be betting his queen. If Cam had any ace, he would probably think he'd be raising.
Check.
Yeah, it's very hard
it's
to
check,
see
check.
how
Check.
Cam could ever win this hand now.
Right, Cam's picked himself up a gut shot. Looking for a 5 if he
80,000.
plays, yeah. If he finds a 5, he'll make the nut straight.
Definitely can't call to hit the 5, so the only hope he would have is to try and raise it now, but I think it's a bit of an ambitious player.
Oh, wow, he's just moved this off. Maybe he's planning to bluff the river.
9.
And there comes a 9
Check.
on the river. Kevin will check. Cam will have a stab at this, I think.
Kevin has check call on his face here all day long, so it will be a failed bluff attempt in my opinion.
Right, so Ryan Joffe has joined it, and he's asked us a question which you could have seen online.
So Cam is going to fire a bullet here, I think.
Absolutely. Just for Ryan, 185 players entered this tournament.
Even though Kevin's not entirely comfortable with the ace out there, I definitely do not see him folding here to any bet that Cam makes.
There's absolutely no chance.
All in.
Cam has moved.
Wow, Cam
All
really
in.
does pull the trigger here and he goes all in.
Oh wow, that's just
And
a
that's
massive
probably
trigger.
the only move he could make to actually
All
make
in.
Kevin think about this. Any half measure here would have been called very quickly, and all in is the
Absolutely.
one move that could actually get Kevin to fold
So
here.
there's 2.2 in the middle now, but that includes Cam's chips. So I'm not entirely sure what Cam moved in with, how many he had when he moved in. Oh, it's 1.3 from Cam, so there was 900, 800 in the pot before this. 900 in the pot before this, if he's pulled the trigger to one with 1.3.
So the river here is really not a scare card. Cam is basically telling the story that he pretty much has a strong ace or better, and it's really up to whether Kevin buys the story.
Kevin's counting his stack, and he's going to find out soon that it's about 20% of, or 25% of what he's got behind. So
Kudos to Cam for really applying maximum pressure
No,
here. A lot
absolutely
of players go
having a
half
go.
measure and they only bet 600,000, and that gets called very quickly. Putting a tournament
absolutely,
life on the
just
line
stuck.
here is the right move if you are going to.
Well, he's put his own life on the line, right? Kevin's got
Yes.
a bunch of chips, so Kevin's just thinking about it, and Kevin will work this out in his head, and he'll try and work out what's going on here.
He's going to
Yeah.
replay
He's got a
pre-flop.
little smile on
the
his
flop
face too,
and the
Kevin.
turn.
That looks like he's going to fold. Oh wow, well played, Cam.
What a great play by Cam there.
Well played, Cam. That's an amazing hand in.
And I think Cam starts to breathe now.
Yeah. Oh, Cam's just showing the bluff.
Gets the needle in.
There you go. That'll move some. That'll create a little bit of action.
No friends at the poker table.
No, friends at the poker table. Very, very well played by Cam. He's been pretty quiet on this table, so he picked himself a spot. He got away with it. Eugene, I know you would have taken a lot longer before you folded that hand. It's so difficult to ask you, do you think you would have made that call, because, you know, when you're at the table, your emotions are so different, and how you feel. And people say you shouldn't let your emotions get in the way, but they do get in the way, right? Because
We're
you're
all
sitting
human
out there
beings,
playing,
and
absolutely.
I mean, if you want to be a very good poker player, you've got to divorce yourself from the emotions. But it is very difficult because we all have,
Please.
we do experience the highs and the lows on the table. It means a lot to us. And when the blood starts rushing and your veins start throbbing,
Raise
it's really hard to
240
come up with the
total.
right decision on that spot.
Absolutely, I think players blow up stacks because of emotion in this game. That's probably emotions. Emotions cause more bust than bad beats, you know.
Right, so we have an interesting hand here. Kevin's opened with an absolute powerhouse hand on the button with pocket tens. Cam Naidu has 10-9 suited, which is a hand I know he really does like to play. I can't ever see him folding here, so he's either going to call or maybe even go for an aggressive 3-bet.
I can tell you now that the way Kevin's played all night, if Cam re-raises him, Kevin will be putting all the chips in the middle. I've been watching what's been going on with Kevin. Kevin hasn't been shy to stick those chips in the middle. Cam's had a lot of run good today as well. For those who've been watching the stream all day, Cam got it in with 10s against jacks and queens. Stuck 2 players out. Hit a 10 on the turn. He then, a little later at the final table, got it in with jacks against queens against Tutu Rasson. And he flopped himself a jack on the flop. Did Cam just flat call this?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
So I got the action a bit wrong. It was small blind and big blind.
Oh, wow. What hands happened here? What hands happened here? Right, yes. The button seems to be, on our screen, seems to be in the wrong place. The button actually happens to be with Geo.
Right.
So Cam's caught himself a gut shot draw.
I think all the money's gone in here.
Oh,
Pocket tens
wow.
versus 10-9,
Ollie.
2 overs and a straight draw.
Oh, wow. So Cam stuck it in.
Okay.
Show us the
So we've got a
Flop.
turn card.
turn. Oh, wow.
Mate. 2 pair for Kevin. He wins the hand. I think he has knocked out Cam.
Cam,
and
that's
we
in the
might
Cam.
be
I
heads
actually
up
called
here
it wrong there. I said Cam had a gut shot, but he actually flopped it up and down straight.
with 2
draw.
over cards.
With
which
2
again
overs,
a
yeah.
Very strong hand.
Very, very strong hand. So that'll see the exit of Cam Nadu. Well played, Cam. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Oh, there we go. The chips have moved. Actually, I just didn't see the chips moving from Cam. It was just a little bit strange that that he still had a sip of his water and he was drinking there. Yeah, it seems like the button wasn't moved there, but unfortunately, you know, that's the player's responsibility as well. They should know when they're in the big and the small blind. And once there's been action in the hand, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. It's happened a lot of times in poker. Happened a lot of times in poker.
The button was, yeah. It just moves
Um,
it must be big one. The button's small.
We had a question here from Ryan Joffe, and he asked how many players entered this tournament, and we did
small
reply
blind
to him
inside,
saying that there were 185 entries. But maybe you weren't listening, Ryan, at the time when we did answer. But if you're listening now, it was 185 entries, and I'm sure that our blogging team will also post that online for you.
So Kevin has a pretty commanding chip lead here, heads up. But Gio's no slouch, heads up. He's won a lot of tournaments, so I can tell you right now it's almost 50-50.
I don't know, Eugene, about that. I mean, Gio's a very, very good friend of mine, and but I think he has a massive chip lead here, Cam, right?
It's about a 2-1 lead.
2-1 lead. A 2-1 lead. This will be interesting. This will be interesting.
So because we now heads up, the button will be first to speak, and it'll be the small blind.
Absolutely.
And
Gio
the big
didn't
blind.
quite show us his cards properly there. He, his fingers got in the way. I hope he shows them again. Maybe he might show. There he goes. He shows them again. Queen 9 of diamonds.
Queen 9 diamonds on the button, very strong hand, heads up.
And Kevin has 6-2, and there they go.
6-2 is absolute garbage.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Kevin will. Gio will be raising every hand here. That's just his style. He's just going to pretty much open up every pot. Right, so Kev has 2-3, and those will just go into the muck. I don't even think he'll complete. There you go. Gio showed King 6 of hearts. And
Bring me a coat. No, he's asking if you want anything to drink because they're going to close the bar. You better order a bunch of cold drinks and stuff because
So Gio's a short stack here with about, I think he's got, is it 40 bigs? Yeah, 40 bigs. That'd be 3.2 million. So there's a lot of play here. 40 big blinds, heads up.
24 cokes and 24 apple pies. Raise 160 meter. Flop. Queen, king, 5. Check.
So it looks like Gio has 10-6
Check.
here on the button. I'm
So-
not sure what Kevin has. And Kevin takes it down with a bet.
Fold.
A lot of the pots heads up will probably take a very similar format where the button will raise and the small blind will often fold an inferior hand.
Right, so I've got Bozo back in the studio, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Eugene and Bozo together on the stand. So I'm going to move Eugene into the seat right here, and you
I
can
know.
give David that.
Sure the blinds.
And you guys can hear the rest of this commentary from the players that ended up 1 and 2 in the poker rankings, and maybe they'll have a little discussion about that. They're giving each other the big fist pump here. They've had a great rivalry this season, and welcome back, David.
Thanks, Marky.
Check.
Good to sit with Eugene.
It's good to see you, Dave.
You too. Played enough poker together. Let's actually watch other people play for once. I
That's
think.
true.
80.
What's your thoughts here, Eugene?
Well, it's been a slow start to the heads up now. There's a lot of the very standard sort of raise folds from the button. So I'm waiting to see a hand where we get a little bit of a matchup.
I'm expecting Gio to raise a lot of the buttons here. Like quite a high frequency.
I think he's going to raise, auto raise every button here.
Yeah.
But I've seen that Kevin has picked up his aggression a lot. He's actually pulled a few pretty good bluffs here.
Oh, yeah.
And he's definitely sort of stamped his authority here, and he's not come to mess around.
Well, just before you took over from me, we saw a hand with Kev and Gio, where Kev actually put his tournament life on the line with middle pair with a gut shot, and Gio actually had him beat, and he got him off the hand. So big respect to Kev here. He's boxed. He hasn't been on the scene as much in the last couple of years, I don't think, and he's boxed with some really aggressive players
That's right.
and held his own.
Yeah, I mean, I
200.
told Mark earlier that he's
200
probably got
total.
more experience playing poker than you, me, Gio combined. I mean, he's been playing since before we were born, so he's definitely no newcomer to the game.
Definitely not. Very.
So we have two very strong heads-up hands here, pocket nines and ace three.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
The action's on Gio, and I expect him to 3-bet here.
I think he will. I think the question is, will Kev continue in the hands?
Gio has actually kept in line quite a lot in the three-handed play. So I'm actually not expecting Kevin to continue if he puts out a big 3-bet here.
Here comes the 3-bet.
So the open was to 200,000. I think Gio will probably make it somewhere around 650,000.
Do you think so? He's been putting me quite small 3-bets. Although there looks like quite a few green chips
All
in
in.
there. All in, cool.
All in.
So Kevin
in
goes
and a
all
call.
in over the top, and Gio
Raise.
calls.
Yeah.
And here we go.
Okay.
So an ace to win it for Kev.
Okay.
Gio needs to hold up to keep this alive.
Alright, let's see what the flop brings.
And the 9, that should just about kill it.
That locks it up.
Check.
Yeah. And that's it. And that'll most
Well done to Gio.
So Gio gives himself a chip lead now. About almost
Yeah, I
21.
think basically they just reverse positions where Kevin had a 2-1 chip lead, and now Gio will go into a 2-1 chip lead.
Yeah. So Kev obviously thinking Gio's putting in a very lightly bet against him.
I think Gio, you know, obviously has a reputation, so when he does have a big hand, he's often going to get paid in spots like that.
I think that's exactly what happened there.
Yeah, I also think fatigue also plays into it. The guys have been playing a long time. You see an ace heads up, and you just feel, well, let's just stick it and try to get lucky and end it right here.
2. 3.
Kev's still showing a lot of guts, and
4,
I'm
5,
sure that will, for the remainder of this heads up will play on Gio's mind.
I definitely don't think Kevin will give up, and he will box till the bitter end.
40, 80, the guys are still quite deep.
Yeah, they're incredibly deep. So Kevin's now the short stack. He still has 40 big blinds.
Yeah.
40 big blinds heads up is plenty play. They've been opening to about 2.5x, so that's about 200,000. So he's got a lot of play left.
There's a lot of play. I can actually ask your opinion on this. We had a nice debate, semi-debate earlier on the big blind ante. Do you feel it should be in play heads up?
Well, I actually spoke to Mark earlier about it. A lot of the players feel that the ante-structure will be exactly the same when you have 8, 9 or 10 people, but when it gets to 4-handed, 3-handed and 2-handed, the ante should maybe be halved, and then it can even be quartered when you go heads up.
Okay. That's
Because then it'll work out to
Alright.
the equivalent ante that you would have if every player was anteing.
Look, I think there'd have to be a universal sort of change on that, really. Otherwise, you want some sort of consistency in the gameplay, right? You know what I
Of
mean?
course, but I have seen different series and different countries do have different rules. So we'll see what happens. Often people just follow the lead of the WSOP. They seem to be the trendsetters. So we'll wait and see what they do.
And this is pretty much exactly how WSOP does it, right?
Yes, I think we've adopted their structure.
Do you think it changes bet sizing, like pre-flop raises?
Well, there's just more money in the pot, so it means you've got to fight for more pots. That's
80
basically
pot?
it.
There's more money in the
40
pot if you
40,000.
7-handed or less, right? Otherwise, it's pretty much what we used to play for.
Yes. No, if it's like 8, 9 and 10, then it's basically exactly the same. It's the same as 8 or 9 people anteing, but when there's heads up, there's definitely a lot more money in the pot now.
Yeah. So now we want to see what Gio has here.
Raise. 4.
All in.
Alright. I think it's a break. I think this is just a break.
Ah, it's a break.
Yeah, they're going to take a 15-minute break here.
Shall we as well?
I think we're all going to have a break now.
Okay.
Grab a drink.
Yeah, let's grab a drink and let's come back and let's watch the end of this heads up.
Okay, so
very
it's
cool
a
to-
15-minute break.
Are we still on? So, UG, it's been awesome battling it out with you this year, brother. We over.
Alright, we're wrapping up here. 15-minute break. See you guys in 15.